Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. We are live. We have a very rare live occurrence today, and for a very special reason. We're starting a video series, which we hope to turn into a video podcast and an audio podcast called Talking Tires. For the longest time, I have talked about Tire Train being more than a gym or more than a workout. And this is going to be a really great opportunity for us to show exactly what I mean by more than a gym or more than a workout. So just a little introduction. My name is Amanda Campbell. I am the owner and operator here at Tire Train in Marion, Iowa. And we very much are a gym and we very much do offer workouts. But it goes well beyond that. We've had so many people walk through our doors and change their lives through the workouts and the environment that we offer here at Tire Train. And so I have been thinking about how do we show that? How do we share that with the rest of the world, really? And so I had the idea to host our members on a video series or a video podcast. So we will have our very first guest today. We're just going to get started, I think. So I'm going to invite her on. This guest is very special to me. She has been in my life for probably going on a decade, I would say. And she was my first personal training client. She actually kind of pushed me to get started training people. I was training her out of my garage even before Tire Train was a thing. And she's pretty much been a part of Tire Train ever since. And so what we are going to do today is listen to her story specific to Tire Train, her story specific to her fitness journey, and then we'll kind of deep dive into how all of that intermingles with her personal story. In this video series, video podcast, we want to hear from the members and hear their stories. We have such a diverse community when it comes to fitness levels specifically, but also people from all walks of life come through here. And I've had the opportunity to hear these stories, and I want everybody else to have that opportunity as well. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Kim Laughridge onto the Talking Tires podcast. Welcome, Kim.
Hello.
How are you?
I am fantastic.
Adjust your phone a little bit here.
There we go.
Is that okay? All right, cool. So this is our first episode. We're going to have some learning moments here. First of all, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. And what we're going to start with is, how did you hear about Tire Train? How, if you remember, how long you've been with Tire Train, and just a little bit about your experience through your time here.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, we've known each other for probably a decade at this point, and Tire Train from the very beginning, you and I met through a completely different avenue, which I don't like to think of that time as like part of my fitness journey because it wasn't fitness. Yeah. But we met, which was just such a beautiful blessing. And then after that, I actually connected with you because of the meal prep business that you had at the time, which I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. The food was delicious. It took away everything that I hated about meal prepping. So that's kind of how we continued to get to know each other. And then I think that just through conversation and like understanding what your future goals were, I was like, you want to work out with me? Do you want to train me?
Yeah. I think you asked me a couple of times.
Yeah. And you were nervous because you didn't have your certificate.
Yes.
But I was like, I don't care. I trust you and you know what you're doing, so let's just work out. So we worked out in your garage, and then I just remember after that, you posting videos of people coming to your house and working out in your backyard. And the timing, even when you went to the church and we're doing classes in the church, the timing for my schedule with my family just didn't work out, but I just kept watching. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I want to go do that. And then when you got your first studio space, again, I just kind of kept watching from a little bit of a distance, but that first studio space, and you opened up, I think I saw maybe like a post or something on Facebook or social media, and you had opened up more class times. And I was like, yes, I can finally come. And I signed up, and I swear, that first class, I was like, oh no.
I actually think I remember that.
I was scared. I was like, oh man, because I had not been working out at all. I was like, I'm about to get my ass handed to me.
I would argue too, like when we moved over to the first studio, the workouts probably leveled up a little bit too. So you were entering into like
definitely
a whole new territory.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, it was just like unlike anything I'd ever done before. And I remember after that first class, I was like, oh, okay, that was really doable.
Yeah.
Like I challenged myself, but you had structured things in a way where there was variety and nobody's looking at you.
Yeah.
Like nobody cares
Yeah.
what you're doing. They're so focused on their own
Mhm.
lane that it didn't feel like, oh, I have to be in shape to
Yeah.
show up at the gym.
Sure.
And you could go at your own pace.
Yep.
So that was really helpful because it can feel intimidating to walk into a gym
Yeah.
and start working out, especially when you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Totally.
So to show up that first class, I was like, oh dear God, this is going to be wild.
And let's try to remember the time frame between when you were training with me in the garage to
Mhm.
the start of your tire trained
Yeah,
journey. So was it 2016 that we worked together?
I think
I
so.
think it was too.
When we first started.
Okay. So then tire trained started in May of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new studio opened in March of 2019.
Right.
So it had been some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been working out at
Sure. Yeah.
all. And then started coming to classes and just, again, it's like, it's hard to describe the vibe and the energy and just the community that exists in the gym. And even, I mean, we're talking back in 2019.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that has remained consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy kind of with the different people
Mhm.
throughout the kind of phases of tire trained, it's
Mhm.
evolved and changed a little bit over time, but it's
Yeah.
still that like foundational element of being in a room with like-minded people who have
Mhm.
goals
Yes.
and are motivated to show up as the best version of themselves. And like, again, just the camaraderie and the vibe. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing this.
Sure.
So yeah, it was like after that point, just continue to do classes at that studio. And then it was so exciting when you opened up
Yeah.
this place. It was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is just like, and especially for us,
Brand
looking
new.
back
Yeah.
to like us working out in your garage.
Totally.
And like doing our warm up walk down to the end of your block and back.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
oh my God,
this is crazy.
It was.
So
yeah.
that was really
And
exciting.
then from the old studio, like when I moved in there, it was a mess. I mean, that place was like on a budget.
Yeah,
Okay?
you had to.
Yeah. So we painted the walls all black in the
Mhm.
old studio.
Yeah.
So it's like definitely leveled up from when
Oh,
we
yeah.
moved in. But when we moved here, that is one thing that I kept thinking. It's like bright. It's
Yes.
white. It's, brand new.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, totally. That was a fun thing to look back on, especially with you.
Yeah.
It's like going from the garage at my house.
I know.
Before I even conceived of the tire train idea, you
Yeah.
know? And then to be sitting here today, really,
know.
with even twice the amount of space that we had in 2020.
Right.
So, yeah.
It was just awesome. And I think one thing too is that, so I mean, came here to this new studio, worked out with Tire Train for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then took a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that break was maybe, I mean, it was around the COVID time.
Yeah.
So it was a couple years,
COVID.
maybe a year and a half or two,
Sure.
even, before I came back.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just kind of watched from a distance. And I know we'll get into it, but there was other stuff going on
Yeah.
in my personal life. And then just kind of was like, okay,
Yeah.
like get back at it. I
Yeah.
had done the very first session of
T3.
T3.
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
So you were part of like the founding group of the
Mhm.
T3 program. So to give everybody else kind of a frame of reference, we sort of just ran HIIT classes from, the conception really, 2018 to 2022. And in 2022, I had on my mind that we needed more members that were getting results, that were experiencing progress. Started the T3 program in June of 2022, had a pilot session, and I think we had 20 people in our class. And so that was kind of your next phase of the tire train journey.
Yeah.
And so pick up a little bit from there.
Yeah. That first session, I think, well, just because I'd come along with you for every phase of Tire Trained, and I really wanted to do that first session of T3,
Mm-hmm.
but I had never done anything with barbell,
Yeah.
really, like, because I mean, a lot of the classes were that high intensity interval
Yes.
training, so it wasn't really, I mean, we used dumbbells, we used kettlebells, we used things.
Totally. And let me preface the T3 program. So T3 was intended to have a start and an end, and it was intended to be kind of like a level up, really in like intentionality of committing to a program instead of just attending a class. And so we did do a lot of barbell at the beginning, a little bit.
Mhm.
Now it's like that's the foundation of the program. So we went from HIIT classes to kind of like dabbling more into the heavy strength training.
Yeah.
And so,
And that was just something I had never done before because with my fitness journey, I mean, it really started, it had always been, I mean, like after puberty, basically. It was like, how skinny can you be?
Totally.
How much weight can you lose? It was
I think
never
a lot of women can
yes
relate to that.
yeah. So it was never about like how many push-ups can you do? Can you do pull-ups? You know, like it was just never focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
And after that first session, it was like had a taste of that type of thing.
Progress.
Of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that was really exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of opened my eyes to just a completely different world of possibilities and things that I could focus on that I just had never really thought about before.
Yeah.
And then I think after that first program is when I took a break.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this real quick. So
yeah.
you had mentioned like when you came to the first studio, you said nobody's looking at me.
Yeah.
So would you say that that was something that you were concerned about?
Mhm.
I would say that is a concern I hear from some women.
Yeah.
But people might look at you and be like, she doesn't worry about people looking at her.
Yeah.
Is that something that you were concerned about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially as a beginner, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make a fool of myself.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Like when even like, I'll tell you, even now, when we have partner stuff,
Yeah.
if there isn't somebody I know in class, I'm like,
Yeah.
got like school anxiety of like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I have to think of a fun
What's this
fact of
person
myself.
gonna think
Like,
about me?
what do I do? So, I mean, that stuff still happens, but like definitely as a beginner, I was like, oh man. And that's one of the things about, I've done other, you know, classes at other gyms and gone to other gyms, even just to work out
Yeah.
as just like a, you know, kind of industrial type gym. But something here, it was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you led classes, and this is the other thing that helps with this, but also it's kind of this blend where nobody else around me was looking at me and being like, oh my God, what is she doing? You know, it's
Like,
not.
has that ever happened?
No, not a single
Why are you
time.
so worried about that?
I don't.
You
Nobody
know?
cares about you.
No.
Nobody cares about what you're doing.
If you, it's like I try to tell people, like, think about how you're feeling in that moment.
Mhm.
Are you feeling like looking over at somebody being like, what the hell are they doing?
Right.
No, you're like, how can I keep my life going? Okay.
And that's what I noticed is like that's what kind of had me that with that realization is I'm like I didn't notice anything
Yeah.
else. I wasn't looking at anybody else because I was so focused on getting through
Yeah.
what was happening to me at the time.
Sure.
But the thing that I also love though about the way you lead classes and you and Julianne is like, yes, other people in the class are not looking at me, but you guys are definitely coming around and you're making sure that we're paying attention to form and the fundamentals. So it was like you have this class environment with a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and I haven't been anywhere else that has offered that type of environment.
Sure.
And so it's like the accountability of a class,
Yeah.
the vibe of a class, and being surrounded by people that you're like, okay, I want to level up.
Yeah.
And also having people like you and Julianne to come around and be like, you can go heavier, or your form looks like shit, you need to go down and weight. There's just so many things, and the way that you get to know each person in your gym, like you know the things that I struggle with.
Yeah.
If I see overhead anything in the program, I'm like,
Yeah.
and you come around and you tell me, you're like, just drop weight, go down, like you need to focus on X, Y, or Z, and it's just that level of attention and detail helps, especially when you're trying to focus on specific things. And that's another thing where the goals that you help people set for themselves and the way that just, I mean, it impacts not only the individual, but the community overall too. And you just don't have that. I mean, it's not like I go to body pump at the Y and the instructor is like, what are your goals? They don't, it's not the same thing.
You bring that up. That's funny you bring that up because I used to go to the Y. That's where my fitness journey started, you know? And I did do a lot of classes. It wasn't really, lifting was more my thing, but I did go to some. And I never really liked it.
Yeah.
And I said when I got my training certification that I would never do group fitness. Because of that.
Yeah.
Because you walk into, and no shade on the Y. Like, the Y is great, and this works really good for some people. But for me, I just felt like I wasn't really oriented very well to, like, what to expect. I felt like everybody there had been there forever, and I was the new person that was clueless on what to do. So what do? You tuck yourself in the back of the room.
Yeah.
The instructor's way up there, and you're just kind of hanging on
Yeah.
you know, by a thread, really,
Right, yeah.
when it comes to like the fitness thing. And you don't really go back
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said I wouldn't do group fitness,
Mhm.
you know, and here we are
Yeah.
doing group fitness. But we're doing group
Yeah.
fitness differently.
Yeah.
We kind of turn it up on its head, you
Mhm.
know, because I think we provide three things in one place. I think we provide a group, which
Mhm.
a lot of people thrive in because the motivation is second to none.
Mhm.
And another really interesting thing was even when we were doing HIIT classes and we would dabble with a little bit of weights here and there, I'm like, it would be so amazing if we could teach everybody in here to use a barbell,
Right.
to do actual strength training. But I was
Mhm.
like, how the hell do you do that
Right.
with 30 people?
Yeah.
That's not even responsible
Right.
or safe,
Yeah.
you know? And so that was kind of a thing too. Um, when I decided to do the T3 program, I was like, we're going to kind of like create the exclusive program with the start and the end, and we're going to slowly try to add weights, see if we can, third thing, personal train people in a group setting,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
And we've done it.
Yeah.
And so to hear from you, to say that without me even saying it to
Right.
you
Yeah.
is like, yes.
Well, I think it's like there's this like contagious thing within the community too, where like the example and expectation that you and Julianne set and the way that you talk about fundamentals and the way that you come around and you help people make sure they're getting that stuff right
Mhm.
before anything else.
Sure.
And like you don't have to lift really heavy. Like that's not necessarily the point.
Yeah.
And the way that you structure the 8
Some people
weeks,
would tell you otherwise.
right? But like the way that you structure the 8 weeks, it's like I've done the 8 week program. I mean, I came back in January, and we could talk about my break here in a little bit.
Yes.
But when I came back in January, it's like now this is like, I don't know, third or fourth session.
Yep.
In the first week of the session, I still, even though I'm benching like 85 or 90 as my working set, I still like the first week of like, okay, let me reorient, let me reset, let me really make sure that I'm focused on the fundamentals that you've come up with, because it's easy to lose sight, but then you can still have those goals and those that progress that you're working towards. And then it's like I find, I'm like, Ashley's usually my partner in the mornings for 6 a.m. and I'm like, I ask her, I'm like, hey, will you watch me? Make sure that my bar path is what I want it to be. Make sure that my depth is where I want it to be. Like we did back squats on Monday, and I literally was like, hey, Ash, can you just watch me for my first couple reps to make sure that I'm looking good? And like we'll do that for each other. So
to even have you say the words bar path
yeah,
is like chef's kiss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's neat to see, especially you, because you were here in the backyard. You were here in the first studio. You were here at the grand opening of this studio.
right.
You were here for T3.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still learning new things.
Yeah.
You're still able to pick up on what I want you to learn and be better because of it.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
And so it's really neat to watch you guys, not to go from like not knowing what a training split is
Right. Yeah.
to being like, what's the training split this 8 weeks? You know what I mean? Or to ask your partner to check your bar path. I don't think we do that in our normal gym settings,
Right.
you know? And so it's like we've accomplished some really important things here, you know, even from the early days when it was still really cool. And we've talked about that. Like each little phase of tire train has its own glory, you know? And I do choose to look at it that way instead of look back on like, oh man, this was not good, or it's all been great.
Yeah.
You know, everything's going to have its ups and downs, but like, look at us now.
I know.
You know?
Yep.
So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Anything else you want to share about like the tire train specific journey? Anything?
I mean, I think that the only other thing I would mention is just how much my goals and the reason behind why I come here all the time has changed because of this place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely things in my personal life that we'll talk about where it's like, yes, that contributes and plays a role, but like to be like, I want to do 125 for 1 rep max. Yeah. I'm going to do 5 unassisted pull-ups. Like those types of things.
Did you even ever think you'd bench press?
I started with the bar.
Think about it.
And I was scared of it.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember, and this was, I think, I don't know if it was in January, if it was when did we do bench in the very first
We've done
session?
bench, like the very, very first
Like
session?
the very, very first T3 that I did.
No.
Did we do?
Okay,
So it must have been.
If we did, it would have been like a station
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do it. I mean, the whole T3 program has completely changed.
So it must have been January then of this year.
I bet.
When I came back.
Yeah.
And it was bench, and I was like super intimidated.
Yeah.
And I remember like looking at my partner, being like, and I'm like benching the
Help.
bar, and I remember looking at her like, "You ready?"
Yeah.
Because I don't know about this.
Yeah.
You know. And now my working set is like 85, 90.
Yeah. That's
and,
so cool.
You know, I think people have a big misconception about women lifting weights, and it's like I don't look. I mean, I'm like
you're tiny,
fit,
really,
you know,
short, fit.
But I'm not like
yeah
yoked out of my mind. I'd love to be. I would love to be, but like I'm not like.
Yeah. We find that it's actually like really difficult
it is
to
very
get
hard.
big.
Yes.
You know, in fact, like when you lift weights as a woman, it does depend on how you eat, of course, but like we kind of get smaller, I would say. You get smaller, you get tighter.
Yeah.
Which is really what we want anyways, right? And so
I think people misunderstand the intentionality you have to have to get that jacked.
Yeah.
Like,
and we have to work, we have had to work really hard from the leadership perspective to get women to understand how intentional you have to be to get results.
Yeah.
Let alone to get huge.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
It's like that's a lot of work.
It really is. And I'm so glad to hear somebody else say it, you know, because you've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And like you have yet to get ginormous. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, that is like, again, to like go from the way I used to view working out and nutrition to just be as skinny as possible and to lose as much weight as possible to now being like, I'm cutting this session so that I can bulk next session to like really focus on my progress and improvement with strength.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy to me. Yeah. It's crazy.
So that will lead us kind of to our next part of the conversation. So we talked about your experience with Tire Trained and how you benefited from that over time in the various stages. What about just like your fitness journey in general? Are you somebody, that's kind of what I want, the people sitting in this chair. Are you somebody who's always been fit, that's always been into fitness, was an athlete?
Right.
Or are you somebody that, you know, you're introduced to fitness at 30 years old?
Right.
Like, tell me a little bit more about that and like, I mean, how that comes about.
It's like I did sports in high school.
Okay.
At minimum, volleyball, we were terrible, but we had a lot of fun.
Where'd you go to school?
Wash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Wash of 05.
Yeah.
The volleyball team specifically. We
My
had a lot of
daughter's
fun.
on the Wash team right now.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I was in sports, but I never thought of myself as an athlete. I never really thought of myself as someone who was athletic. And then after high school, college, no. Didn't really work out at all. And then after college, again, it was more so like maybe running, but it was like cardio.
Shift your phone. You'd keep talking.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You just keep talking.
It was more cardio and like, how can I be as skinny as possible? And viewing food as like the enemy.
Yeah.
Instead of fuel.
Totally.
For what I need to do in the gym.
I think a lot of women, just based on the conversations I have, would absolutely echo that same thing. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. I mean, I'll keep going on this train of thought, but I do want to mention that because of the community and the impact that some of the women in this community have had on me personally. So like, yeah, again, college, didn't really care. After that, it was more focused just on cardio, but even that was pretty minimal. And I'm talking, it's like, I go to the Y, which I have a membership to the Y. I love the Y.
Yeah.
And it would be like the elliptical for 30 minutes.
Shout out to the Y, really.
Yes. But I would do like 30 minutes on the elliptical and then do some abs. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's great.
Check.
Yay. Yes. Check. And then had kids. So it's like met my husband, got married, and my husband is very, very into fitness, which was helpful because it was like motivating to be with a partner that took that stuff seriously and was like focused on being healthy and being active. But again, it was just kind of like aimless. There was really no structure or goal.
Would you say just kind of going through the motions?
Yeah, just going through the
Checking
motions.
boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was just like a thing that I was like, yep, this is something I need to do, but didn't really know anything about it. So, I mean, I would honestly say until I came to Tire Trained, it was just kind of this aimless smattering of whatever. Movement. Yeah. Moving my body in some capacity, except for running. I mean, running was one thing that I did. But again, my goals and why I was doing that was not even remotely close to what I'm doing now.
Would you say so early days of your fitness journey that you're speaking of,
Would you say you were ever performance focused?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Never. I didn't even like. I didn't even think of it as an option, really, because I didn't know anything about it. I
Totally.
didn't know what goals or
It's
what
almost like-
performance would look like.
It's almost like when you hear the word performance, you think of an actual athlete.
Right.
But what is an athlete?
Yeah.
You know, a professional athlete that you see on TV.
Right.
That's one way that we've kind of changed the language we use here, even. It's like, look at what these people do here.
Right.
You are absolutely an athlete.
Yeah.
You know, an everyday athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that when I went and visited a gym out in San Francisco in January.
Mm-hmm.
And so I totally understand where you're coming from, because back then you would hear performance and think like, what do you mean?
Yeah, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So again, I didn't really take anything very seriously besides weight loss until I started at Tire Trained.
Sure.
And I would say even then, though, it wasn't until this program and like some of the stuff that I went through in my personal life where it was like, okay, this is an option. And I have more education and information now. And I'm seeing these people around me do these things. And I'm like, oh my God. And that's one of the things I want to mention is like, I was running with Ashley, the other Ashley, and we were talking about nutrition. And I mentioned to her that there's some days where it's difficult for me to hit a certain calorie intake. And she heard the number of calories that I was eating on average. And she was like, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, but girl, you need to eat.
Yeah.
And it's like to have a woman
Yeah.
in my gym community being like, you need to eat more.
Yeah.
Was like, what?
Yeah.
So again, just like the support and encouragement and seeing people around you achieving these things day in and day out. And that's one of the things I love about the new stuff that you have as far as like PRs.
Yeah.
I mean, just celebrating
the weight on the bar instead of the weight on the scale.
Yes, exactly.
You know, that's something I've seen go around social media, and I just love that.
Yeah.
And I think we really lean into that. You know, I would say like the early first couple years of T3, I wouldn't say it was necessarily weight loss focused, but a lot of people did have weight loss goals. And
which is totally.
So I think the community felt the pressure to lose weight or to lose body fat. And that is when I decided, okay, I don't want that continuous stress on people. You know, if you want to, great, we'll make the space for it.
Right.
But there's so many other things that are far more important.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think where we're at now, it's like we do care a lot more about like how much more weight can I put on my barbell, than how much weight can I lose off my body.
Yeah. And I think the thing too that's been just incredible here is the education.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women especially don't realize, hey, you need to eat and do progressive overload in order to reduce inches.
Yes.
Like, do you realize what happens when you do these types of workouts?
Yes.
You actually achieve the results that you think starving yourself and running is going to get you. That's not the way.
Totally. And like, don't get me wrong, like you definitely have to work really hard to get a result. But what I think we have a misconception about is like everything that we do to be successful happens in the gym. And so we spend more time in the gym, we push harder in the gym. And what we really need to understand is we break the body down in the gym for an hour.
Right.
Maybe 5-6 days a week max. And then outside of the gym, everything you do outside builds you back up to get that result you want, you know?
And so we've chatted with her about her tire train journey. We've talked to her about her own personal fitness journey and like kind of what led her into being interested in being into fitness. Now we're going to take all of that and kind of loop it into like, what's your story? Tell us a little bit more about you, your personal life. I know we have a bigger topic to talk about in your personal life in particular. And so let's chat a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So your fitness journey has inspired you to change some things outside of the gym. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's kind of chat about that and tell us a little bit about your story.
So I mean, I think the thing with the gym and being more intentional and progress, performance, goal focused. In my personal life, I have 2 kids, so I've gone through 2 pregnancies where I gained 70 pounds with each kiddo, and I went hard. I went hard. So yeah, 2 kids, and again, it was just kind of like going through the motions, check the box, didn't really, even in my personal life, didn't really have a lot of like intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
Very much focused on my job, my family. And then when I took a break from Tire Trained, and then in March of 2023, I went to sleep on a Sunday night. It was just like any other night. I had looked at my work calendar the week ahead and was like, okay, not bad. But like that was what I was worried about, is what was on my work calendar for the next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to sleep, and then I woke up a couple hours later in the back of an ambulance, and turns out I had a brain tumor. I had a seizure in my sleep, and my husband called 911. We had a CT, and they said, we saw something on the CT, we want to do an MRI. And even at that point, because I've been very healthy my whole life, I had no symptoms,
You had no symptoms.
no symptoms whatsoever, no signs whatsoever. Like I said, I just went to
Which is
bed.
like even more scary.
I know, it was just crazy. And then, so even when they did the CT and they came back and they're like, we saw something, we want to do an MRI, I was like, okay, like, we'll figure it out, and I'll get the day off work, and whatever, it'll be fine. We'll go back to normal, it'll be fine. And it wasn't. Like, I think, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours later after the MRI, the neurologist comes in, and she looks at the screen, and she looks at me, and she's like, you have a brain tumor. And it was like, I mean, I can't, there's no way to really describe for people what that feels like, but like the instantaneous tectonic shift in my perspective was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one thing where, like, I remember that first week, so it was like a week, when she told me that, a week later I went up to Mayo Clinic and talked to what would end up being my neurosurgeon up there. And in that first week especially,